Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. A viewer had a request. They wanted me to make a video in which I demonstrated how to randomly select from a set of pictures that are in the same folder. And this is that video. So the first thing I'm going to show you is where would you where would you find the example code which I've put in the zip file that you can download from itch.io on the link that appears in the description of this video. So let's go through that. Let's say you've downloaded the Let's Make a Game zip file. You've extracted this folder, which is called Into the Underworld. Now here is where you would go to find this. You open Into the Underworld. You find the supplementary material folder, which is this one here. You get into that and you'll find selecting a random picture, which is this one. And then there'll be two examples, example A and example B. And in example A, we have, sorry, my mouse is mucking up a little bit, so it might take a few clicks to get this to work. Yeah, right, let's just open it up. All right, we have example A, the program, and then we have the pics folder where I've put all the pictures from which this is going to select. And then within that pictures folder, we have dwarf.png, elf.png, human.png, and troll.png. And the program is simply going to pick one of those four pictures and display it. Now, example B is just about exactly the same, except that the pictures from which it's going to choose are named a bit more systematically, I suppose we could say. So we have 1.png, 2.png, 3.png, and 4.png. And because they're named as a sequence of numbers, that makes the code a little bit simpler. In this example, where there's only four options, it's probably not a huge difference, but if you've got a really big set of pictures, if you had 100 pictures, you might find it easier to number them all from 1 to 100 rather than do the other way that I'm going to show you. So what does it actually do? Well, both of them look exactly the same. Let me show you what it looks like if you run the program. Simply that, it just prints a random picture out of the four, and then if we restart it, it prints a different one, or of course occasionally the same one, and so on. So it's just it's not a program that really does anything. It's just a sort of bit of example code that you can look at, copy, or use to check if you've punctuated things in the right way, etc. So that's what it looks like. Let's look at the code. So we'll start with example A. They're both quite simple, but there are slight differences. So this is the version where we don't have 1, 2, 3, and 4 as the file names. Instead, we have dwarf, elf, human, and troll, or whatever it may be. I'll just zoom in a little bit to make it easier to see. Okay, so we have an array. In this first line, we have an array, and that array has all of the pictures that we want to choose from named. There's no command that I know of in Twine that says go into a particular folder and sort of make a list of all of the pictures that you find there. You have to do this by hand. You have to go into the folder. Well, that's the folder from the other example. You have to go into the folder and sort of write down what you see there and make sure that you've got it right. There isn't any command that just says go into pics and list everything that's there. So we have an array. In this case, I've called it P. As usual, I start by having the word null in the list to remind myself that arrays start from item 0, not from item 1, because I find it easier to work with 1 as the first number rather than with 0 as the first number. I just ignore slot 0 and use slot 1, 2, 3 and 4, etc. as the ones that I'm going to work with. So we have quote and then just the name of the file. Note that it includes the .png, or if it were JPEGs, we'd have the JPEG or the JPEG or whatever it may be. I just happen to find .png files a little bit easier, well, a little bit better quality, I think, perhaps, than JPEGs, although they're a little bit bigger, unfortunately, as well, usually. So we have an array with all of the pictures that we're going to choose from, and then we say set Z equals an element of P. So we have a square bracket and then some code and then end square bracket. And the code that's within the square bracket is a random command. And we know that what random does is it chooses a random number from the first number, or from the number to the left of the comma to the number to the right of the comma. So for example, if we had random 1, 5, it would choose 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 with equal probability of each. Or if we had 3, 10, it would choose 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 and so on. What we're doing in this case is we go from 1 to $p.length minus 1. And that dot length, that format where you have dollars and the name of a variable, then a dot, then length, L-E-N-G-T-H, minus 1, you'll find that very commonly. What it means is, what all this means, what $p.length minus 1 means is, in this case, it will mean 4. It will mean 4, but what it means in general terms is it means the highest number of the array in question, in this case P, which is filled in. So it looks at P and it says, is P0 filled in? Yes, it is. Is P1 filled in? Yes. What about 2? Yes. What about 3? Yes. What about 4? Yes. What about 5? Well, 5 isn't given any value. So $p.length minus 1, this thing here, it will assess as 4. Now, this minus 1 seems a bit counterintuitive. You'd think it'd just be that, wouldn't you? You'd think it'd just be $p.length, and that would give you 4 because 4 is the highest slot that is assigned a value. But you have to do minus 1. I think the reason is because arrays by default count from slot 0. So I think what's happening inside the program is it's saying, well, we've got slot 0 filled in, we've got slot 1 filled in, we've got slot 2 filled in, we've got slot 3 filled in, and we've got slot 4 filled in, and that's 5 different slots, so therefore p.length is 5. I think that's what it does. But anyway, for whatever reason, when you want to say the highest slot of an array that is assigned a value, you have to do the variable name, so $p dot length, L-E-N-G-T-H, minus 1. If you don't do that minus 1, in this case it would generate a value from 1 to 5, and so occasionally you would get errors. So, having done all that, Z will have a value which is one of these ones: dwarf.png, elf.png, human.png, or troll.png. Then we print the image that we've chosen. So this is quite a complicated line of code. What it will print is something like this. So square bracket, img, which stands for image, square bracket, pics, that's telling it look in the pics, start where the program is saved, and there should be a folder called pics. That's what that means. Then there's a slash. Then it will add Z, the variable $Z. So let's say, for example, it's chosen elf.png, and then it says to add two end square brackets. So it will print something like this: square bracket img, square bracket pics, P-I-C-S, slash, and in this case, elf.png, or it might be dwarf.png, or whatever it's picked from this array P. And that whole command just means find this picture. It's called dwarf.png. It's in the pics array, which should be in the same folder that the main program is stored. And find that program and then print it, display it on the screen. And that is, of course, what we want to do. We have chosen a random picture from within an array. Now, I would like to show you a sort of slightly easier way to do it that you might want to do if you're dealing with more, like significantly more than 4 elements. So, because you can imagine, if this array had 100 elements, it would be very easy to make a little mistake somewhere, like you put 2 commas in, or you put a dot instead of a comma, something like that in all that 100 elements. It's easy enough to make a little mistake and for it to be very hard to find where the mistake is. So if you had a really large number of elements, you might want to do a slightly different way, which is example B. So what we do here is, instead of having an array that has the names of all the files, we just have a numerical value, which I've called P again, $P equals 4, and that tells you the number of pictures that we're choosing from. And you remember that the pictures are called 1, 2, 3, 4, and if we had more, we'd have 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever, and we'd give P the correspondingly higher value. Again, there's no command that says count how many pictures are in this folder that Twine can do, as far as I know. So you have to sort of do it by hand. You have to say, all right, P is 4. Is that right? Yes, it is. Good, okay. All right, so we set P to be equal to 4. We set Z to be equal to a random number from 1 to P, so 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now, of course, we could combine this line and this one. We could just simply say set Z equals random 1 to 4. But I didn't do it that way, because doing it this way makes it easier for when we're going back and looking at what names we've given, what variables relate to what. In doing this, I've got set P equals 4, and then I've got a little comment underneath that says number of pictures. And so if we go back later, or if another person looks at our code, we can see that, okay, in this program, P is the number of pictures from which we're choosing. So we set Z equals random 1 to P, so random 1 to 4, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then again, we print this line of code, which will look something like this. Again, it's a square bracket, img, square bracket, pics, slash, and then we add Z to that. So let's say, for example, 3, and then we add .png to that, and then we add two square brackets. So we might end up with something like square bracket img, square bracket pics, slash 3.png, end square bracket, end square bracket. And that is simply the code that says, look in the pics file, and in the pics file you'll find a picture called 3.png, and if you could display that picture. And again, we could actually combine all three of these lines of code. I've made many more lines of code than I need to, just to make it clearer what's happening. We could just say something like this: print square bracket img square bracket pix slash quote plus bracket random bracket 1 comma 4 end bracket plus quote dot png n square bracket quote, and then the two greater than signs to end the command. Sorry, when I said print, I should have said we actually start, as always, with the less than sign, so it's less than print, and those that less than, and then the greater than at the end is how we tell the program that this is going to be a bit of Twine code. So all these three lines I could have combined into this one single line, and that would print square bracket img square bracket pix slash, let's say, 2.png just as easily. I've split it into the three different lines because that makes it easier to see what's happening. We're defining how many pictures we have. We are choosing a random number from 1 to the number of pictures, and then we're printing the corresponding picture. But of course, if you were just making a program that only you are going to look at, and you know what everything you're doing means, you could crunch that up into a single line if you wanted to. But anyway, that is how you choose a picture randomly from a set of pictures that are in a single folder. Unfortunately, there's no command that will sort of count all the pictures that are in the folder, or will make a list of all the pictures in the folder. You have to do that by hand, and then you have to check yourself as to whether the list you've made or the number that you've decided is accurate. But if you do it accurately, it will do what you want. It will do what you're after. So I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you. I should add, if anyone else has any requests for particular things you want me to talk about how to do, just put them as a comment, and if I know how to do it, I will certainly make a video demonstrating how to do it, and I'll also make, as I've done here, a code example that you can download from itch.io and have a look at if there's particular bits that you're not sure about. Because this is quite a small channel, I can sort of handle every request that I get. So I hope, as I say, I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.